Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. It's like, it seemed like seemingly something happened. All right. I'll call this meeting to order. Linda, it's 4:02. Let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America
and to the
to the
republic
republic
for which it
they have
stands one nation under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so item 1.2, adopt the agenda. Are there any corrections or rearrangements to the agenda as it was posted?
I have none.
Rosemary,
Nothing?
Amy? Okay, so is there a motion?
There we go. Sorry, my mute button wasn't working for the longest time. There we go.
Okay, no, I know how that is. Anyway, is there a motion?
Gary, I wondered if you guys were planning on tabling, not planning on, but if you wanted to consider tabling 3.3, since all the board members aren't present. I know that that's what happened last month as well, since all the board members weren't present.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very valid question, because I've stated previously that because this is potentially a consequential decision the board is going to make, it would behoove all of us to have all the participants, board members present, because in reverse, when it turned out to the misunderstanding, miscommunication as to the March meeting, where I was not able to physically attend, and it was necessary for me to Zoom, but because the agenda had already been posted and per Brown Act, we could not change it. And so I was not present at that meeting, and this item was tabled until a future date, of which this is it. So it just and because of the unanticipated, unexpected, rather tragic sequence of events, we do not have one of our board members present. So I think it's potentially worthwhile. And it is unfortunate, but again, necessary. So anything any of us have prepared for this item, we'll just have to hang on to it until the next time, which then it would appear that it'll be moved to the regular meeting on the 14th. Yeah, the 14th. So,
did send that agenda out today because today's a week ahead of time, but if there's still time to change it if we wanted to do that.
right. So, it's somewhat disappointing, but I don't believe we have ethically any choice. I would feel more comfortable with all five weighing in on this.
Mhm.
So, but that's my opinion. So let's say you, Rosemary.
I totally agree. Melissa, as we all know, did an awful lot of research. And I really think that it's important for her to be here as well as all of us to support that.
Okay. Bianca.
I agree with Rosemary's sentiments 100%. I do appreciate the letter that she sent in, taking the time, you know, just in case, being prepared for us to move forward. But I also wasn't present last meeting. So I understand the significance and I agree.
Amy.
Yes, I agree with all of you as well.
Okay. All right. So then we need a motion to the effect to table until the meeting on the 14th, item 3.3.
I'll make a motion to adjust the agenda, removing item 3.3 from tonight and moving it to our regular meeting next week.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any further comments? No? All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Rosemary,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Jerry, nobody can hear you.
Your sound cut out, Jerry. Maybe he can't hear us either. Jerry, your sound cut out.
it got out.
Yeah, there, now it's back.
Yeah, okay. Moving on to item 2, public comments on items not on the agenda. Under this item, the public is invited.
Jerry,
How did you vote and did the motion carry? Since you cut out, you
Oh,
still
I'm
have to say that for the recording.
Okay, thank you, Linda. I voted aye and the motion carried.
Thank you.
So item 2.1, under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Please keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. The board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. Should comments from the public pertain to a charge or complaint against an employee of Northern United Humboldt Charter School or Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, the board encourages the speaker to utilize the school's written complaint procedures to pursue the matter. The public will have an opportunity to comment on all agenda items as those are heard. Are there any comments? I hear silence. Hopefully that doesn't mean that my audio is okay. All right, moving on then. Action items. 3.1. Findings regarding teleconferencing. Pursuant to board resolution S2022-1, adopted March 10, 2021. Consider adopting findings that current circumstances met the requirements of Assembly Bill 361. 1, current state of emergency is ongoing. And 2, meeting in person would present imminent risks to the health or safety of the attendees. Forgive my laughter because it's all about me. Is this pretty straightforward, everybody? Understand under the circumstances, because we're assuming that we have to approve and adopt this resolution.
I do have a question. Is this something that we have to adopt every time this situation comes up?
No, and I'm realizing that in the packet, we didn't put the signed resolution in there. You know, it's the one that we put in there last time that's unsigned. We really should have put the completed one in the packet. No, we've already adopted the resolution. So what
Right.
we have to do from now on, every time we do a Zoom meeting, we have to reference that the resolution was already adopted. And what the board has to do actually now is you have to find that the conditions still exist that allow you to meet on Zoom. And those conditions are, you know, kind of what Jerry just read, that there's still a governor's state of emergency and meeting in person could cause imminent risk. So those are the findings you have to make every time we do Zoom right now. We don't have to re-adopt the resolution. It's already been adopted.
Thank you for asking that, Rosemary. So does the board find that the current standards, the number 1 and number 2, are still valid?
Mhm.
Yeah, a motion needs to be made saying
Right.
such.
So is there a motion to that effect?
How would we word that? Help us wordsmith this, Sherry.
Just say that I move that we still find these conditions exist.
Okay. I'll make a motion that 3.1, we find that the findings still exist.
I'll second the motion.
Video cut out. Okay. Was there a second to that? My audio must have
Yeah,
cut.
Bianca gave a second.
That's what I thought. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Rosemary,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
and I also approve. Motion carries. Got that, Linda? Okay. Item 3.2. Adopt second interim budget and budget resolution for Northern United Siskiyou Charter School.
So you have the second interim report in your packet. You guys might remember that with Siskiyou, the first interim was actually just a repeat of budget adoption, that instead they focused on second interim to make sure that it was as accurate as possible. So Tammy and Kirk and I met with them and went through our budget really, really well, just to make sure that everything was in place appropriately for this second interim. So I don't know if you have any questions on it or anything, but Tammy will answer if you do.
And I have a little bit to tell. You know, I didn't do a report up, but I wanted to let you guys know that Siskiyou is doing pretty good. We've underspent by 11,000. So that was carried down to our ending balance and added to it. So I would recommend a positive to, you know, it's a positive. certification.
Thank you.
And hi, Bianca.
Any comments or questions?
I guess for me, just if there's anything that stood out as abnormal, I didn't say anything myself, but anything to comment on that's different from year previous or interim previous rather.
Not really. It's, the first interim, which like I said, was just a copy of the budget, is very different than this, because you remember when we do budget adoption, it's like we adopted in June from the year before based on what the governor has said in the May revise. So not even on the actual budget that gets adopted from the state. So this now incorporates all of the stuff that actually did get adopted from the state budget, which there were a lot more revenues.
Yes.
A lot of federal revenues due to COVID and, one-time revenues. Those are all included in here now that were not in the previous ones. So that's probably the biggest difference. So a lot more revenues, but then of course, a lot more expenditures to match that too.
And I don't know if Sherry told you about next year with the Siskiyou business. No, okay.
I didn't, but go ahead, Tammy. I think this is a good time to say it.
So for the last 3-4 years, I felt like we really haven't known our budget with Siskiyou too well. It just, you guys know this. So next year I will be doing the budget over there as well as here in Humboldt. So
Yay.
I'm happy. I'm interested learning a new system. So this is great for us.
What was kind of nice is the assistant superintendent of business in Siskiyou. Her name is Sarah Applegate. She has been working with Corey Weber over here, the assistant superintendent at HCOE, and talking with him about how we handle our budget here. And so she basically just asked to have a meeting with us and proposed that we do it in the same way. So I think that's really good news.
Yes.
When we get to the next item, the next item, which is our audit, we can kind of talk more about this, but you may notice our Humboldt audit was 2 months ago. I think we adopted it. It was in January, and we're just now adopting our Siskiyou one. And what I'd say the number one reason that it is so late is because when the auditor asked us questions about our budget, we were unable to answer. And we would go to Siskiyou, we went to Siskiyou County Office of Ed and asked their business staff the questions, and they were also unable to answer. They had to do a lot of research to find the answers. And if Tammy was doing the budget herself, we wouldn't have to ask anybody why something was done a certain way or why it's in there a certain way. So I think this is really good. And one of the really good things in terms of the timing of this is, so this is kind of complicated and in the weeds, but the way that schools do their budgeting is through something called SACS, which is school accounting codes. And it's a system that the state uses for all schools in the state to do their budgets. And they're the reports that you see in the budget that look really ugly, in my opinion. SACS is just kind of like it's weird looking. But anyway, SACS is changing the way that they have been doing things. And it is going to be starting, the new system is going to be starting this year for budget adoption. So this is the perfect time for Tammy to come on, because they're doing a lot of trainings because everyone needs to know this new system now. And so she's going to be learning the new system alongside all of the Siskiyou County office, business office staff, and all of the other Siskiyou County district business employees at the same time. So it's really good timing. So this having second interim done, Siskiyou County did this, and then I think, but correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, but I think they will also do unaudited actuals for this fiscal year, but you're going to be doing budget adoption and then of course first interim and second interim moving forward.
Interims, and then closing out at the end of the year. That usually will be my job too, so they can start with the unaudited actuals.
Yeah, so I think this is a really good transition, and of course, it's a money saver.
Yeah.
Not a ton. They were very reasonable with what they charged us for business services. They charged us, I think it was like $10,000 and some change. And we found it interesting that the county office, Siskiyou County office, does not charge the districts who they don't do the budget for, even though we're using their software and their platform to do it. Like, we're doing payroll through them, we're doing the budget through them. Where on Humboldt County side, Humboldt County charges all of the Humboldt County districts and charter schools a percentage of their costs for their system. And so we talked about that with Sarah, because I just assumed that would happen. And I asked her, and she said they don't currently do that, but they're looking at it. So there will probably be some charge, but not anything like what we've been paying.
Good.
And also
thank you.
really positive.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a long time coming, and it's a good thing. So we look forward to it. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the second interim budget for NUSCS as positive.
Is there a
Can
second?
we also add that budget resolution? You remember Siskiyou County requires us to do that budget resolution transfer. So this will probably be our last time to do that, because now that Tammy is going to be doing it, I don't think that will be required.
Yep. I'll revise that. I'll make a motion to adopt the second interim budget and budget resolution for NUSCS as positive.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion or comment? All right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor and signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Rosemary,
Aye.
Amy.
Aye.
I also approve. Motion carries. On to 3.4, approval of the Wairika Learning Center field trip to Southern Oregon University. You see the information in the packet, and Sherry, do you want to?
As you guys know, all out of county or overnight field trips have to be approved by the board. This is not an overnight, but it's actually an out of state field trip. So the high schoolers at Wairika Learning Center will be going on a college tour, and it happens to be in Oregon.
Nothing wrong with that. Any comments or questions?
I have a question. As you can see, there's 3 places on the request form for a date, and there's 2 different dates. Can you tell us when? Have they already gone, or is it in April? Do you see that, Sherry?
No, mine just says April 26th.
Ah, well, in the board packet, there's the actual trip request form, and it says date of trip, March 31st. Then
You know what?
departure date.
I think that was the date that they submitted this.
Okay,
You know what I mean? I think
I
that's,
do.
no, this date of request is February 19th. Okay, yeah, I see that now. Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
return date is also March 31st. So has the trip happened in March, or is it happening in April?
I can speak to that.
Okay, Kurt.
That's funny. Good
Um,
catch.
she submitted it too late to go on the trip in March. So she resubmitted it
changed
with
it,
the new
yeah.
date.
So she only changed it in one place, not all the places.
Okay.
And that explains why the April 26th one, you can see that had been whited out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it's April 26th. Thank you for noticing that.
All right, April 26th.
I will correct that on the one that I sign.
Good catch, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just a word to the wise, they submitting documents to school personnel. They need to double check to make sure that everything lines up and is accurate. Because they certainly wouldn't want a no because of, the errors in the paperwork. But I don't think that we would hesitate to follow through. It's just an honest mistake.
Right.
At any rate, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Wairika Learning Center field trip to Southern Oregon University.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Very good. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Rosemary,
Aye.
Amy.
Aye.
I also approve. Motion carries. On to discussion items. 4.1, employer contribution towards health and welfare benefits. Sherry, you want to start?
Yep.
Tammy. So
It's that time of year again, just like we did last year. We needed to start talking about what the employer contribution toward health and welfare will be, because open enrollment for the different medical plans happens in May. So we thought it's important for people to know what the school will be contributing toward their medical benefits before they select a plan, because it makes a difference how much comes out of their pocket. So unfortunately, we didn't get out to you in the packet kind of some options until afterwards. I emailed those, or Lacey maybe emailed those out separately. So those weren't in the packet when they first came, but you should have them now. And they look like this. There's 2 pages like that. One at the top says Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, and one says Northern United Humboldt Charter School. And just so you guys know, the EO is employee only. E+S is an employee plus spouse. E+C is employee plus child or children. And E+F is employee plus family. At the very top, well, just to remind you, what was contributed this year was the premium, the full premium amount for the spruce plan, which there's oak, spruce, pine. They're different plans, and oak is the most costly. Spruce is the second of the premium amounts. And so this year, what happened was the school was able to contribute the full premium amount of spruce for everyone and all of their dependents. So whether it was an employee only or an employee plus family, the full cost was covered. So nothing came out of pocket for the medical benefits this year for staff. Also this year, you might remember that for dental and vision, our North Coast Schools Medical Insurance Group, which is the JPA that manages our health and welfare benefits, they voted to have a premium holiday for vision and dental. And what that means is there was no cost for vision and dental for anyone, for any of the member districts or member charter schools this year. And that was because those plans have been running so well, actually too well, that there was a lot of excess reserve funds in those accounts. And so they wanted to spend down that reserve because, you know, this is not a money maker business. The JPA is not intended to make money. It is, you know, intended to just to be managing these plans and managing them in a way that's fiscally responsible so that there is a reserve in case of some sort of emergency that comes up, but that reserve does not need to be so high. So because the reserve had gotten so high, like I said, the board voted to the JPA board voted to have a premium holiday. So there was no cost to the schools or employees for vision and dental for this year, but that was a 1-year only thing. So now we're looking at next school year. The JPA board voted to increase the medical premiums by 1%. So there is an increase to the cost of the medical plans, and they voted to reinstate the vision and dental premiums. And so the vision and dental premiums, now there will be a cost. So what I did, or I shouldn't say I, because Linda made these, at the top of the page, we put, for each school, we put how much health and welfare cost the schools for this year. So you see at the top of the Humboldt one, the cost of health and welfare, which just to remind you, it was only medical since there was no cost for vision and dental. The school spent $595,000 on medical benefits for staff. And then in Siskiyou, it was $156,000. Obviously, a lot less people with the insurance coverage in Siskiyou. That's why the lesser amount. And then also at the top are what the premiums for 22-23 Spruce plan will be. I told you they went up, by 1%. So just so you have an idea, the cost for an employee only to cover Spruce, it's $9,636 for the year. That's how much having the plan costs. For an employee and their family, it costs $21,180. And so for a year. So you can see, the employee and spouse and employee and children. So that's how much, that's the total cost of the premium. So what we were going to talk about tonight is how much toward that premium we feel as a school we can afford to pay for these plans. Because like I said, however much we pay, the difference is what the employee has to pay, what comes out of pocket. So any questions so far on just that? I'll go into different options next, but I'll stop right there. Any questions? Okay.
Sherry, I
Thank
do.
you for understanding. I'm in my teacher mode. Yes, Elizabeth.
The dental and vision, is that an optional package for the employee?
It's optional if you're retired, but
Okay.
it's not optional for us, for people who are active employees.
And do you know how much that will be this year?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll wait.
Okay. Well, Linda probably can tell you the exact number off of the top of her head. Linda, for vision and dental together, how much is it for a year, the premium? Do you remember? You're muted, just so you know. I see you open your mouth, but
For the plan that we chose, it's $145 per month per employee.
okay, so 145 times 12.
Together, dental and vision, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's $1,740 per person for a year. And so just to give you an idea, on the Humboldt side, we have about, how many people on insurance?
50.
Yeah, that's what, but 50. So that's $87,000 is what the Humboldt would have to pay to cover the whole premium for vision and dental. That's the 1,000, whatever I said, for the year times 50 employees. That's 87,000. So that's 87,000 we didn't have to pay last year.
Right.
So it's a big jump since we weren't paying vision and dental last year. Okay. Any other questions before I move on to the different options that you have before you? Okay, so the options we started with, and this is just a start. So if you want to give us a different direction to move into for next meeting, that's awesome. But so this was the starting place. We looked again at Spruce. We looked again at that plan, like the cost of covering that plan again. And the paper itself is kind of, there's 3 plans on one side and 3 options on one side and 3 options on the other side. So on the left-hand side are 3 tiered options. And on the right-hand side of the paper, there are 3 set cap options. So let me explain the difference between those. So I'm going to go to the set cap option first. Keep in mind, it's a different premium amount based on what coverage you're getting. So if it's just you that's being covered, or if it's you and your whole family, there's a different cost to that. So the set cap is not really taking that into consideration, basically having the contribution from the employer being the same dollar amount for every employee, no matter what their situation is. So it doesn't matter that, you know, one person has to pay more out of pocket or whatever. It's basically, it's the idea that either 14,500 is given toward medical benefits for every employee, or 14,000 or 13,000. Those were the numbers we picked. And so if we used one of those set caps, you see the next column is the employee contributions, whether it's a 12-month employee or a 10-month employee. So what that means, so just looking at the very first one, the set cap that is 14,500, set cap 1, an employee only wouldn't have anything out of pocket, because remember, the premium is only 9,636 for employee only. So obviously 14,500 covers that completely. Then you look at the next one, which is employee plus spouse. For a 12-month employee, they would have $253 come out of their pocket every month, and a 10-month employee would have $303. And again, the reason why they would have money coming out of pocket is because the premium for an employee plus spouse is $17,532. Well, this set cap amount is $14,500, so it doesn't cover the whole premium. So do you see how this chart, that side is working, the set cap? And then the third column from that part is the total cost to the school. So that shows, based on the number of employees we have in each of those different categories, or on insurance, doesn't matter about category on this one, that's how much it would cost. So $642,736. Well, again, looking up at the top, you see what we paid this year, $595,000. So just covering that 14,500, you know, there's an increase in cost to the school as to what we paid this year, and employees would have money out of pocket. And then that final column shows what our ending balance at the end of next school year would be if we picked that option. Okay, now I'm going to move back to the left side of the paper and look at those 3 tiered options. This is actually a little bit different. This is, instead of contributing one amount, the same amount to everybody, regardless of what their situation is, this is actually contributing the amount specific to, well, an amount specific to their situation. So let's just look at the first one, tier 1, employee only. The contribution would be $9,636. That employee would have nothing out of pocket. Employee plus spouse, $14,636. You see what the employee would have out of pocket. Employee plus child, $13,636. Employee plus family, $18,636. So you see that what the school is contributing is a different amount based on the type of plan the person has. The very last one in that column, tier 3, that is doing essentially the same thing that we did this year, which is paying the full coverage for Spruce so that people didn't have anything out of pocket. And so you see what that cost the school. Am I saying that right, Linda? Am I saying this right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, but I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, okay.
To compare.
Okay. So when you, well, just looking at it, yeah, I think that's right. I think I'm saying this right. So the very last one.
Balance is the greatest.
Yes, exactly. It costs the most. And so the ending balance is the least on that one.
Right.
For the, yeah.
Yep. And the percentage goes down the
Right.
lowest of those three options, because that one is the most, I mean, that's the most expensive one of all 6 options.
Right.
We gave you these options so you can kind of see some choices and kind of how it impacts our ending balance. And like I said, as a starting point, the Siskiyou one, same exact format and layout. I wanted to explain all of that to you because I know it's not easy to just see and like get, intuitively. And so I just kind of wanted to explain how that was laid out. Any questions from this point?
I have a question.
Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, looking at tier 3 in the lower left, the contribution amounts, EO, E plus S, E plus C plus
That's
F.
what threw me. That
Yeah,
seems
there's
wrong, doesn't it?
It's one or more of those numbers.
Those
seem
should have
wrong.
been the actual premium amounts.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. Okay.
Yep, that is it. And that's when I started saying, I'm like, wait, that's not right. But it's just because that should have been the actual premium amount, which the employee only, that one is. But the other 3 just didn't get changed. And I tell you why. It's because we redid this chart so many times. But the dollar
what should it
figures
be?
are, the other columns are correct. So just in case you're not following what we were saying, the very bottom box on the left-hand side where it says tier 3, EO 9,636, ES, instead of saying 12,500, that should say 17,532. E
Okay,
plus
hang on,
C should see
17,
14. Huh?
Hang
It's
on.
the numbers that are at the top where it says what the premium costs are.
Oh,
That's
oh,
what
yes,
should
yes,
have been
yes, yes,
there.
yes. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. All right, so we can write that in.
Yeah.
Is that clear to everybody that
Mhm.
the numbers are from that top line just above the chart?
Yeah, it's the actual premium cost. It's the premium for the plan is what number should have gone there.
Okay.
So, I mean, in my opinion, having like just looking at Humboldt and Siskiyou both, the ending balance for the most expensive plan is still, just to put it out there, we're required to have a 10% ending balance. So looking what our ending balance percentages are on the most expensive plan, we well exceed what our minimum reserve requirement is. So to me, it just seems like I'm not sure why we wouldn't go ahead and do that again. But again, this is just a discussion item. And so, the one thing we didn't do, and Linda mentioned today, should we have put in what it would be to be on Oak, which is the most expensive plan? Should we have come up with an option for that too? So if that's something you wanted us to bring back next week, we could, and see what it brings the ending balance down to. But, and just so you know, for right now with Spruce, if people wanted to be on Oak, they pay out of pocket for
Right.
that because Spruce is
Any,
they pay out of pocket for the difference only.
If you bring in the oak, it still wouldn't change the ending balance because we as the employer are only going to pay up to the spruce amount.
That's
Does it
right.
No, I'm saying give an option of the employer paying for the Oak amount. So
Okay.
it would change the ending balance.
Hmm.
I know
And
you don't like that option, Tammy.
what would the reserve look like adding in the dental and vision?
The dental and vision are already figured into those amounts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's something I should have said, that's the premium for all of it combined.
Got it.
well, I think, Sherry, for the sake of argument and comparisons, why not give us, the best plan numbers where the district contributes, the maximum, so that we can compare it to what you've presented us here.
Okay, so next week, we'll, the packet's already gone out, but we'll just send in a separate paper and we'll just have two to compare on there, I guess, the full coverage of spruce and the full coverage of oak, and what that does to the ending balance. Anything else that you would want to see?
Are there any other questions or comments?
Just one. All of these are based on what the current number of employees on both sides that are taking the insurance. So that bottom line could change if all of a sudden 5 more people come on Humboldt and 3 more full-time come on Siskiyou. Those numbers could change. So it's just taken and based on what we currently pay for the number of employees we pay for.
But we also have employees that are leaving, one down here in the corner, that it's going to probably offset that. I know a few others that are going away that have insurance, so I think that will flow and be okay.
Yeah, and I think it bears saying, just like anything, these are all estimates based on estimates.
Right.
This is based on what our funding level will be. This is based on what our expenditures will be. This is based on our enrollment. All of that, they're all assumptions. There are best guesses, but yeah, none of this is like set in stone. But there are most accurate estimates that we can have at this time based on our second interim budgets.
I'd like to point out and remind everyone, Sherry's comment about the required minimum budget reserve. And you compare that number, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry, 10% to
5% is what's legally required for
right,
us, but our authorizers have asked that we keep 10%.
So 10%, and you look at all the percentages all across the chart. And yes, there's, at this point, it's hard to, it's all a guesstimate, but that's what budgeting is. Nothing is carved in stone. Things come and go, things way beyond your control. But the difference between 10% and any of the 30s that are listed here, that's fairly significant. So leads me to believe that once again, just as we did last year, we need to step up and move forward with, maximizing the contribution, the district contribution, employer contribution. So,
Can I add a comment?
yes, Kurt.
As someone who's working hard to retain and attract employees and build a program, I really appreciate the philosophy, of covering so much of healthcare. None of the other schools in the county are doing this, and so it really helps. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I'm a huge proponent of healthcare benefits. It's just it's just my how I feel.
And I don't know how many schools on the Humboldt side contribute 100% either, or districts.
There are still quite a few.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's
Yeah,
all we have on this. So we'll bring it back next week with what you've requested, the oak as well, and so then you can compare oak and spruce. Thank you.
Okay. Were there any other people out there that wanted to comment? Any employees who would like to weigh in on this
Kathy Schirmer
discussion?
has her hand up.
Oh, hey, Kathy.
Hi there. Hey, I really appreciate this conversation. This is so heartening for me and all of us teachers and employees. And I just really want to thank you for stepping up so much this last year. It's been such a relief to know that, you know, I'm going to take home my paycheck and not leave, you know, a quarter or a third of it, you know, on healthcare, just insurance, not even talking about what you pay after you have a visit and everything else. So I really appreciate that. It's so valuable for me as a teacher. I really, really appreciate it. I just really want to thank you. I want you to know how much it matters to me, to my family. You know, knowing we can go to the doctor, knowing that we can, you know, go to the ER if we have to, you know, knowing that we can make our regular visits. You know, this kind of stuff is so important to the morale, you know, of the employees. And I just really appreciate your dedication. And I know that the costs have gone crazy over the years. You know, I started teaching in 1995 down in Mendocino County. And at that time, we were always covered with our health insurance. And that was kind of one of the things, you know, everybody would say, you have to have a teacher in the family. So, you know, you have great medical benefits. And, you know, over time, things changed because the costs just skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was nervous, you know, looking at what the cost might be next year, knowing that they would be increasing as they always do. And so I'm so thankful that you guys seem to be really looking at continuing that spruce plan, because it's, wow, it just takes a lot of pressure and concern off of us. So I just really wanted to thank you for that.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And anyway, are any other individual want to comment, weigh in on this? No? In all fairness, just so it's not misunderstood, where I'm coming from, you know, for 2 decades, my family, my wife Carol and son Eric, enjoyed health benefits that we never ever had to worry about paying anything in a family where things happen, dental, vision, and health. So I've gotten spoiled, and I remember that. I'll never forget that. And if in my capacity, I have the opportunity to pass that similar kind of coverage along to the employees of NUCS, that's what I want to do. So.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
I know you get it too, Rosemary.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, great discussion. Look forward to the other plan breakdown, Sherry, for our next meeting. All right, item 5.1, next board meeting, possible agenda items. Well, we already know of 2, the vaccination discussion, our vaccination policy, we're beyond this discussion, and the continued discussion of the health and welfare benefits.
Also the SISCU audit.
Okay. SISCU audit. Anything else anybody can think of? The possibility?
Well, I mean, the agenda already went out today.
Yeah, that's right.
it's
I just
everything that's on
briefly
the
glanced
agenda.
at it. And
But
just
I will
like,
have to amend it because I'll have to add the item that was tabled.
right, okay.
Mhm.
And I will say that, well, definitely next Thursday, it'll have to be Zoomed. And there's a possibility that the May meeting, I might be able to attend in person. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. But I'm really hopeful and I'm working very hard towards that goal. So just so you know. 5-2, the next board meeting date is April 14th. And next Thursday, 4 o'clock. And having said all that, Linda, it's 4:57 and I adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Good
See you
job.
next week.
Yes.
All right. Yep. See you next week. And I'll try to get that new agenda